The Republican Party is in shambles. Republican senator from Louisiana went on to the Neil Cavuto show to just name call Kamala Harris and instead was scolded by Neil Cavuto, who would typically just let these Republicans just go on and on. They let Republicans come on their network all the time to lie and to name call and to spread conspiracies. But not anymore. I guess we're in a new day with Kamala Harris.
Alex Castellanos is one of the brightest political commentators I know, and he's made the point that the burden on the vice president is to prove to the American people that she's a serious person. Margaret Thatcher didn't giggle. Golda Meir didn't giggle. When you look at the polls, fair or not, many Americans, and again, this may not be fair, but I'm just telling you what the polls show. Many Americans think that the vice president is a little bit of a ding-dong, that she's not serious.
Well, this ding-dong, Senator, has risen in the polls, and I'm wondering if the strategy to focus on her laugh or the former president calling her nasty and crazy really promotes that push to show she's not up to the job. Does it look petty? Does it say to judge her on this level looks like a strategy that could backfire on Republicans? By all means, get her on the issues that matter, like you've talked about abortion, to clarify what this Supreme Court push might be about. But to focus on this other stuff just looks dumb.
Well, what I was going to say, Neil, if I could finish my thought, when you look at the polls, fair or not, what the polls, the crosstabs show, is that those Americans who have an opinion of the vice president think that, number one, she's a bit of a ding-dong, and number two, that she is a member of the Loon wing of the Democratic Party. She's a San Francisco
that member
Democrat.
of the Loon wing, Senator, that I'm not casting aspersions either way, that member of the Loon wing is now dead even with Donald Trump in one battle state ground after another. Now, I'm not saying that might last. I am saying that this loon is surging, and if the Republican approach to her is to treat her like a loon and a cackle, and she is just an empty suit, I wonder how far that'll go.
Well, I'm sorry if that offends you, Neil, but I'm just telling you what the people of America think.
I'm just telling you what the polls are showing right now. Now, if you think they're short-lived, they're not going to last, and you're okay with this approach of talking about her laugh and nasty and disrespectful and all this stuff that Donald Trump has said, you don't think part of that is going to kill you at the polls?
I'm telling you what I think the American people think right now, based on the polling that I've seen, and let me say it again. I think that fair or not, and it may upset you, but fair or not, the American people think, those who have an opinion of the vice president think that, number one, she's a little bit of a ding-dong. She's not a serious person. They've had one vegetable in chief. They don't want another. She believes in strength, our national security strength through weakness, that if we just sit down with our enemies and have a cup of hot cocoa and give them a hug, that they'll be nice to us.
I don't know if she suggested the cup of hot coffee. You raised a number of very clear issues, substantive issues that could be debated. I guess all I'm saying, for all the problems and calling her loon and all that, and I get it. I know it's political season and that happens on both sides.
I didn't call her a loon, Neil. You're putting words in my mouth. I said she's a member. She's a member of the Loon wing of the Democratic Party, and there is a Loon wing of the Democratic Party.
What's the difference between the Loon wing and being a loon? The only reason why I'm saying it is, if that is so, and you have a lot of American people who have now taken another look at her, and maybe it's short-lived, to your point, Senator, she is running even with Donald Trump, and I'm just wondering about the approach you're taking, and it's very artful, don't get me wrong, and you raise a lot of substantive issues. It's going to come back to bite your hinds, isn't it? Aren't you concerned about that?
I'm telling you what I think the American people think. It may not be what I think, and it may not be what you think, but this is Washington.
Then what do you think the polls that shows that she's running even with Donald Trump, regardless of what either you or I think?
Well, the polls that I have seen, the most recent polls, you can't just look at the top lines, Neil. You've got to look at the crosstabs. And if you look at the crosstabs and really drill down and see what people think, let me say it again. The polling that I've seen shows that many Americans think that the vice president is not a serious person. As I said, that she's a bit of a ding-dong. And number two, that she is a member of the Loon wing of the Democratic Party. She's a San Francisco Democrat. She's just like Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, except without the bartending experience. The idea that we should have a law that says you can have an abortion at any point, no questions asked, even up until the moment of birth, I think for most Americans is a Loon wing position. That's just my opinion, and but that's also what the
just
polls show.
No, you're absolutely fair game to make it. I'm just wondering how you think that will resonate with women when she is called nasty and crazy and a ding dong and all and disrespectful between you and the president. What has been said about her? I'm just wondering, do you worry how that comes across? And maybe you draw no distinction between a female candidate and a male one, and that's fair game. But that this could hurt you with female voters with these type of comments.
Well, let me say it again.
Sure.
The vice president is a candidate for president of the United States. I don't care about her gender. Neil, maybe you do, but I don't. I don't care about her race. I care about her
Then
competence.
why call her a ding-dong?
And I'm telling you what the polling shows. I'm telling you what the polling shows. Right. And it does. And I'll be glad to sit down with you and walk you through the polls.
Please do, because I never know when it's constructive to call people names, Senator. On the left or the right. But
I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but let me say it again.
Senator, you keep bringing it back to my feelings. My feelings matter a little. All I'm telling you is if you think you can gain this November calling people names, I don't know how far that goes, left or right, but we'll see. It's still early, to your point.
Your feelings seem to me like they matter to you a lot, Neil, and I'm trying to be objective here. Let me say it again.
Are you really being objective, Senator? I just think you've got a bash-a-thon, a name calling at her. If you call that being objective, I don't know. But, Senator, I do want to thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me, Neil. I hope you have a better day.
Yeah, so do I. Hope you have a better day. We'll have more after this.
What really gets me is Senator Kennedy talking about how America doesn't need another vegetable in chief. Kennedy is in his 70s. He is a rotten tomato. So it's pretty laughable that Kennedy's going to be the one to talk about the vegetable in chief. And also, how cowardly of Kennedy to say, hey, I'm not calling her a ding-dong. I'm not calling her a loon. I just said she's part of the Loon party. And that polls have showed that people are calling her a ding-dong. Really, really, Senator, you are pathetic, and you, sir, are a coward. See, this is what happens when the Republicans don't have any policies to run on, when they haven't achieved anything. What do? You name call. Ding dong, loon. She giggles. What? That's your line of attack? See, the state of the Republican Party is a lot like the waters after the Titanic sank. You've got these Republican senators and congresspeople floating around trying to figure out what the hell is going on because the SS Trump is capsized and it's going down fast. Pathetic. Cowardly. These people should not have any influence on our political discourse. They're weird. They're bizarre. Just like Kamala Harris has said in some of her statements about Donald Trump. These aren't people you would even want to sit next to at a restaurant, let alone elect to federal positions.